Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Sabah al khair. Delighted to be here, especially in today's theme of science and youth, which is very dear to my heart and to NEOM's heart. It's actually at the center of everything we do. And so today I'll be talking about what is the role of NEOM as a living lab for science and youth to allow them to have the opportunities to impact the world, especially regarding the challenges of climate change. And I look after emerging technologies in NEOM, especially from the policy and regulations perspective. But first of all, if any of you were ever to visit NEOM, and I hope you do, and it's not far away, it's just across the water there, you're very likely to see this gentleman, who is my boss, and he's the CEO of NEOM, Nadmi Al-Nasser. And if you do visit him, I'm sure that he will talk to you about NEOM as a living lab for everybody. And this is one of his phrases that he repeats continuously, that we encourage everyone to think of NEOM as a living lab for everybody, where everyone can experiment and develop new technologies in collaboration with us and with others. And that's really the essence of what we are. We're an accelerator of human progress for all of humanity, and the opportunities, therefore, that are offered for taking science, offering it to youth to create new solutions and new opportunities to solve the biggest challenges, there's no better place than NEOM. So, effectively, we are an accelerator of human progress. In the most simple term, that's how I always describe NEOM. Those are the words that Nadmi said to me when he convinced me to come and leave my life in London and start this wonderful adventure. And effectively, today, the living lab in NEOM, it's vast. Some people say it's a chance in a lifetime, but actually that's wrong. It's a chance in history. And this is something I repeat quite often. I'm not sure if people take me seriously when I say that, but if you hear about what's being said now here, the challenges we're facing, and the opportunity of seeing the whole of the global community across business, citizens, governments, coming together on a single goal, I think everybody's realized this is a chance in history for tackling on a global level a massive challenge such as climate change. So today I'm going to focus on that challenge and just talk about three areas where our living lab offers the perfect environment to take science and new ideas, whether it's from the youth or for older people like myself, but any ideas, and make them real. So I'll talk about those three areas: the Living Lab for Sustainable and Cognitive Cities, the Living Lab for Cognitive Environmental Management, and then how we can actually accelerate multiple industries through our technologies. So effectively, let's start with the first one. We are effectively, we believe, the best place to create, to imagine the future, and then to implement it. We often say we're the land of dreamers and doers, and you can dream everywhere. We all do. But there's very few places in the world that you can dream and then implement. And that's why it's so unique and so exciting for us. And effectively, the first area is for sustainable and cognitive cities. We know that the population in cities is going to keep increasing. The global population is going to increase by 1.5 billion. And the urban population is going to increase even faster. So we need to now look at the way we design and build cities and completely change everything we do. So what we are offering in NEOM, for those who want to be part of that adventure, is an interdisciplinary research facility that's focusing on emerging technologies in urban planning and design. And I'm going to give you a few examples of that today. We have a 150-page document full of projects that we want to do, so I'm not going to talk about them all, but I'm picking out 3 or 4 of them. And this is the beauty of NEOM, is that interdisciplinary approach. I have colleagues here who are from various areas. We have colleagues from NOAA, we have energy, water, environment, and we all work together. And that's the beauty of NEOM, is you walk down the street in our community and you will meet worldwide experts from all the domains, and you will learn with every step. And that's what I love about NEOM. It's a small community, very focused, but you can learn every day from worldwide experts across all domains. And it's that convergence that you will see in these examples. First of all, if you talk about, we know about electric cars, and we know how much energy they consume, and that's a big challenge to scale them up in terms of energy consumption. Now, we also know that we're facing a crisis in many areas where we need to use more robotics to help us with the tasks that we have to do. But nobody has really thought about the energy impact of robots, and but we have, and we know from some of our partners the amount of energy they require. There is no robotics research center in the world that is focusing on how to make the future of robotics sustainable. Now, what we are doing is that we're leveraging the talents, some of them in this room, and in our research facilities on green hydrogen in particular, for example, and looking, can we actually leverage the knowledge and the research on green hydrogen and fuel cells to change the way robots are designed in the future. So that's just one example of interdisciplinary research. And this is what we call the PowerBots project. And we believe that this is essential. This is because the robots are going to consume much more energy than electric vehicles. So we need to tackle it up front from the design, right from the beginning. Another area linked to fuel cells is microbial fuel cells. And Hadi Al-Yami and my team is an absolutely passionate advocate of this new emerging technology. And this is effectively using microalgae and other types of bacteria to create fuel cells that can effectively be converted, from biomass directly for small-scale applications, such as autonomous systems and robotics. So again, that's an alternative to the green hydrogen. Again, these are emerging technologies that are available now. In NEOM, we have the opportunity to scale them up and accelerate their commercialization over the next 5 to 10 years. We're also looking at new ways of doing old things. So in storage, you will have heard a lot about storage of renewable energy today, because that is the critical factor that's missing to get to 100% renewable. And our aim is 100% renewable in NEOM. Solar and wind, correct me if I'm wrong, Frank, but we think 73% roughly. The green hydrogen will play a role as well, but we also need storage facilities, and every country is looking at that from its own perspective of the resources they have, whether it's water or others. In NEOM, what we have is the mirror line, the most ambitious urban development ever attempted. And it's a building, 2 buildings, 500 meters high, 170 kilometers long. The design of that building offers us opportunities that have never been taken before. So we can actually leverage the height of that building to actually store energy through gravity storage. What goes up must come down. It's that simple. But it's just the way we're applying that in an intelligent way which can change the world. Because while we will try this out in NEOM and scale this up to a massive scale, we believe that the way cities are designed in the future has to change forever. And if we're successful in this, we hope that every urban planner in the world and every municipal government will think about what are the rules for renewable energy storage in new urban developments. It has to be there. If we are serious about climate change, we will enable future cities to be built and designed in the beginning to handle that storage of whatever form that may be. And so that's why we think the impact that we're doing, our words and our ideas and our actions and our trials, even if they fail in our living lab, they can still change the world for the better. And the other area is the metaverse. We have had, over the last 2 years, a fantastic project called Xverse, which is the NEOM metaverse. And that allows us to simulate our impact in many different ways. You will hear from Frank Brischow, my colleague, later today at 11:30, about what we're doing on tracing the impact of our carbon footprint. But effectively, we can use technologies such as the metaverse to give everybody the visibility of their actions and maybe remove a little bit of our carbon anxiety that we feel because we don't know how we're impacting the world. But through these simulations and technologies, we can simulate at large scale and advance the impact of every action we take. So those are just some examples from that area. Moving on to another area, which is more about data. You heard at the beginning of this session about how critical data is. And effectively, it's even more important now as we look at all of these mechanisms to measure, to monitor climate change, but also the financial incentives of carbon credits, etc., to actually check the transparency and the authenticity of all the actions we take to remove carbon or to effectively move towards the green transition. So more than ever before, we need to collect that data and make it available. And so if data is your passion, again, NEOM offers the opportunities to apply that data to support the transition to clean energy. And effectively what we're building here is what we believe is the world's first completely integrated large-scale hub for cognitive data. When we talk about cognitive, what that means is that these are systems that understand you or help you to understand them, more than smart. And effectively, what we want to offer here are real insights that can be used by everybody. Oops, got to be careful here. So effectively, it starts from data collection, and what we're going to be doing is collecting the data from everywhere, from air, sea, land, and space. We are also investing in Earth observation from space, because only from space you can really see the big picture. So putting that all together in an integrated way is quite unique already. Then we need to aggregate that data, and we're going to aggregate that data not only with our own data, but data from all over Saudi Arabia to start with, and potentially right across the Middle East in our data hub. And we're working with the National Center of Meteorology in Saudi Arabia on that collaboration, which we hope we'll be able to do announcements soon on that. And then effectively we need to offer data analysis. What that means is that we need to offer the opportunity to everybody to analyze that data. So a simple API open to everybody that would allow anyone, whether it's academic institutions or researchers or any of you in this room, to access that data easily in an open way is critical. And for those who want to have more than data, they want to actually collect insights, this is where the cognitive comes in. We will be deriving meaningful results and insights and offering them up to everybody as well to increase understanding, and that's where the cognitive element comes in. And finally, the dissemination of that data is critical as well. We need to make sure that it is transparently made available and published to everybody who needs that data. And effectively, that means the publication of open data and white papers for environmental impact management. So it's a complete holistic view. So if data is your passion, and I know for many of you it is, this is the place to be. And we invite you to get in touch with us, come to our stand, talk about these projects, and get involved. And I would just say that on the white paper side, we're now working on a white paper together with the green hydrogen team in Enowa and some colleagues in KAUST. By the end of this year, we'll publish it about sustainable space fuels. They have done one on sustainable aviation, but the space industry is another example, which I'll come to in a minute, that needs to transform. So effectively the third area, so now we looked at emerging technology in new ways of living in sustainable cities. We've looked at data analysis holistically and how we can gain those insights to make the right actions. The third area is how we can transform industries, because if you just walk around here, you know it's everybody's challenge. Every industry, there is no industry that isn't looking at how to change. And in NEOM, we're made to change. So we have an opportunity. If you're more interested in being more towards applied research to industries, again, we have opportunities there. And I've just picked out 3 industries. All industries, let's be clear, all industries have to change fast. But I've just picked out 3 industries that are particularly critical for climate change. So I've mentioned urban design and planning. So I think in some of the previous slides, you've seen what I'm talking about here. But effectively, you know, our goals in NEOM, building at large scale to cater for the needs of a growing population in a more sustainable way, is going to create insights and knowledge for everybody. And the beauty of what we're doing is that it's not just an academic pursuit. Many of the world's leading architects and urban planners are working actively with us on this. And therefore, we believe that the impact will be right across the global industry. So if that is your passion, if that is what you're interested in, making our lives more sustainable, more livable, and economically beneficial as well, reaching that equilibrium, then this is what we're about. And so I mentioned the Institute for Cognitive Cities, but there are many other areas that we can get involved in. Sustainable mining is another area. Now, why is mining important for sustainability? Many people think, well, that's the dirtiest industry ever, and why are you talking about that? But it's obvious that we need minerals. We need the resources to build the electrical systems and the autonomous systems, and all of the sustainable technologies need the materials for that, and there's a shortage of that. Not only that, the mining industry is quite far behind in terms of moving towards sustainability. And I know they're making huge efforts to change, but they need help. And effectively, we have an area called Oxagon in NEOM, and they are effectively a leading hub for green manufacturing, green logistics. And part of that includes exploring how we can change the mining industry. Again, looking at this holistically, taking right from the beginning, from cradle to cradle, right to the end, and looking at how we prospect to how we actually industrialize the minerals. And effectively, this looks at all the areas where mining today impacts the environment, starting from the air pollution to waste to water, right across the whole life cycle, and just looking at every single element and how we can actually reduce the waste to an absolute minimum. And so we're looking at the best of today's technologies. Our aim will be to have as close as possible to zero avoidable environmental impact. And let me just clarify, this is not about mining necessarily in NEOM. This is about aiding the worldwide mining industry to change across the world. And at the bottom here, you have some of the emerging technologies that go beyond what is being done elsewhere that will actually take us to the next step that we're exploring here. We're applying seismic sensors to this ambient noise tomography that will allow us to see underground up to 2 kilometers in a non-invasive way. And not only that, well, that's already a big improvement because you don't need to drill the boreholes. You can deploy these sensors, but you need to connect up those sensors. And that's partially why we invested in in our joint venture with OneWeb to provide connectivity to connect up all of these sensors right across the whole of the Middle East and Africa. And effectively, that connectivity combined with a new technology allows you not only to explore non-invasively, but also to very rapidly get results within 4 days rather than 3 to 5 months. And that connectivity layer that we're providing right across Africa and the Middle East is going to be critical for mining because they're in some of the most remote areas in the world. And that's where they need this help. Beyond that, I mean, we talked about 2 kilometers, but we believe that even newer technologies such as quantum gravity, which are these incredible sensors that you can put into space, and from space you can detect tiny variations in the gravitational field and detect those variations underneath the ground down to 10 or 20 kilometers. That is not yet commercial yet, but that offers huge potentiality of actually seeing much further than ever before. And then, of course, robotics is critical. We believe that once you have that connectivity, you can allow robots to be much smarter and much more targeted. Rather than having machines that dig everywhere, you would actually just target what you need quickly, and then we can actually then use those robots to repair the land after the mining. Space is another area. I'll finish with space. Something I'm very passionate about. As I said, only from space can we see the big picture, and NEOM is a big picture type of organization. And as an accelerator of human progress, there's only one way to go as humans. It's to space and to the stars. So eventually that's going to be our future. But right now, we can learn from space technologies how to live better on Earth. And that's a key focus for us, because effectively there's no more hostile environment for human survival than space. And what we can learn from the technologies that are being deployed to support humans into space, we can test them out on the ground, and we're looking to build a analog testing ground in NEOM where we can actually see how these technologies can be applied to sustainable living on Earth. We're also very interested in, again, new, ambitious, risky projects that maybe are based on existing technologies, such as space-based power has been around for decades, but we now believe the convergence of technologies and resources is such that the economic model is now viable, and the technical model is viable, and there is an organization such as NEOM that is ready with the courage to really make this work at scale. And so we're working with, we're talking to various partners, including SSL in the UK, about this, and we're very interested to speak to more partners to test this out for the first time in NEOM. In one geo orbit around the world, there is 1,000 times the total energy required for the whole of humanity forever. That's the potential. That is a massive potential. However, space has got challenges today. We all know that even though there's not a lot of flights compared to aviation, the impact is huge. Every space flight is 300 to 400 kilos of carbon. And that's going to increase as the launches increase. And that's exciting for the space industry, but they will never be able to go ahead with their plans if they don't change the way they do things. So again, we're leveraging our knowledge and our expertise and our investments in green hydrogen to put that at the service of the space industry and develop new fuels that will replace the hydrogen that is being used today. And they can be different fuels on each stage of the launch. And that's, I think, a critical element for the space industry to be successful. Not only that, we should even go further and look at amazing new technologies that are even more sustainable, that don't even use fuels, such as slingshots. And there's a company called Spin Launch in the US that we've started talking to, and we're just very impressed by what they do. But we think there needs to be more thinking in that sense of completely going out of the box and looking at new ways of doing things. And I'll end with that. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be here today, and my colleague Frank will be here at 11:30. So please do join us, and here we are at the stand. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.